What does a $12 billion house look like when luxury stops being the point? At the highest tier of wealth, homes are no longer places to live. They become instruments of control, privacy, and long-term dominance, built far beyond logic or comfort. This isn't about size, design, or taste. Watch until the end, because this video reveals how money is quietly transformed into security systems, decision speed, and power that no traditional mansion could ever buy. Buckingham Palace, when a home becomes a nation. What if the most expensive home on earth was never designed to feel private, comfortable, or even personal? Buckingham Palace, valued at $5 billion, does not function like a residence at all. It operates like a state machine disguised as architecture. From the outside, it looks ceremonial. Inside, it behaves like a permanent command center, built to project continuity, authority, and legitimacy long after individual monarchs fade from memory. This is not real estate meant to impress guests. It is infrastructure meant to outlive generations. The scale alone explains why logic breaks down. The palace spans 828,000 square feet, contains 775 rooms, and sits behind 39 acres of private gardens wrapped around a 3-acre lake. No family needs this much space. That is the point. The size is not about living, it is about presence. Every corridor, wing, and courtyard exists to reinforce one message: power here is not temporary. Unlike modern billionaire homes optimized for privacy, this structure is optimized for permanence. It is designed to be seen, approached, and respected, not enjoyed. Behind the ceremonial facade lies a system few outsiders ever consider. Buckingham Palace contains secret tunnels linking key buildings across London, internal logistical routes designed to move people discreetly without disrupting public ritual. There is even a private ATM, not for convenience, but for operational independence. The palace maintains its own internal services, security layers, and communications infrastructure, functioning more like a fortified headquarters than a home. Running it requires staffing levels comparable to a mid-size corporation, with costs that rival national institutions. This is why its annual upkeep is treated less like household maintenance and more like public expenditure. What makes Buckingham Palace truly illogical is not its extravagance, but its inefficiency by design. Modern wealth optimizes for speed and flexibility. Old power optimizes for symbolism. The palace does not adapt quickly because adaptation would signal weakness. Its rooms are not redesigned for trends. Its layout does not prioritize comfort. Instead, it preserves ritual. Stability becomes the asset. By refusing to change, the structure itself communicates legitimacy. That refusal costs money, but money here is not a constraint. It is a tool used to freeze time. This is the hidden lesson behind the $5 billion valuation. The palace is not priced for its materials, location, or square footage. It is priced for what it guarantees: continuity of authority. In a world where most billionaire properties attempt to disappear from public view, Buckingham Palace does the opposite. It stands immovable, visible, and unquestioned. It is proof that the oldest form of wealth is not secrecy, but endurance. As you move to the next residence in this video, ask yourself which form of power is more dangerous, the kind that hides or the kind that never needs to. Share your thoughts in the comments. Antilia. Mukesh Ambani's $2.6 billion vertical city. What kind of home needs 27 floors to make a point that could have been made with one? Rising over Mumbai's skyline, Antilia is not a mansion stretched upward. It is a statement engineered in concrete, steel, and energy consumption, designed to prove that limits no longer apply once wealth crosses a certain threshold. Owned by Mukesh Ambani and valued at $2.6 billion, Antilia doesn't challenge logic by accident. It does so deliberately, turning excess itself into the message. From the outside, the building already behaves unnaturally. Each of its 27 floors is built to the height of a typical residential building, creating a vertical mass closer to a corporate tower than a family home. Inside, Antilia spans roughly 400,000 square feet, yet it is legally classified as a private residence. That classification is the first contradiction. No single household requires this scale. But Antilia was never meant to solve a housing problem, it was meant to solve a visibility problem. In a city of density and scarcity, height becomes dominance. The infrastructure reveals where the real money went. 6 entire floors are dedicated to parking, built to house 168 cars, many of which are rarely used. Above that sit 3 helipads, stacked vertically to ensure uninterrupted access, regardless of air traffic or security conditions. The structure is reinforced with advanced earthquake resistance, reportedly capable of withstanding an 8-magnitude tremor. These are not comfort features, they are continuity features. The goal is not luxury. The goal is uninterrupted operation under any circumstance. Then there is the detail that turns Antilia from extravagant to absurd, the snow room. In a tropical climate where temperatures regularly exceed 30 degrees Celsius, Antilia contains a space that produces artificial snow. Maintaining it requires constant cooling, specialized machinery, and immense energy draw. From a practical perspective, it makes no sense. From a power perspective, it makes perfect sense. The snow room exists to demonstrate that environment itself can be overridden if enough money is applied. Running this vertical city requires a workforce closer to a luxury hotel than a home. Approximately 600 full-time staff are employed to operate Antilia daily, managing everything from climate systems to security, maintenance, and logistics. Salaries, utilities, and upkeep generate operating costs, estimated in the millions of dollars per year. These expenses are not inefficiencies to be optimized away. They are part of the design. Antilia's value is reinforced by the fact that it cannot be run cheaply. What Antilia ultimately represents is a shift in how new money communicates authority. Older power hid behind land and tradition, Antilia stands exposed, unapologetic, and towering. Its logic is not comfort, privacy, or even beauty. Its logic is consumption without explanation. In that sense, Antilia is less a home than a monument to a new rule of wealth. Once resources are abundant enough, defying logic becomes the point itself. Istana Nurul Iman, the Sultan's $1.5 billion palace of scale. What does a home look like when scale itself becomes authority? Istana Nurul Iman, the official residence of the Sultan of Brunei, is not designed to impress guests or maximize comfort. Valued at $1.5 billion, it exists to eliminate comparison altogether. At this level, logic is no longer measured by efficiency or necessity. It is measured by whether power feels absolute, unquestionable, and beyond negotiation. The numbers alone explain why this palace defies ordinary reasoning. Istana Nurul Iman contains 1,788 rooms, a figure so large it stops functioning as architecture and starts functioning as geography. Inside, there are 564 chandeliers, not chosen for beauty alone, but for repetition. Each one reinforces the same message: abundance here is not occasional, it is structural. The palace includes 5 swimming pools, multiple banquet halls capable of hosting thousands, and corridors long enough to require internal transportation. No single family could ever occupy this space in any meaningful way. That is intentional. The palace is not built around human scale, humans are built around it. One of the most revealing features lies away from the ceremonial halls. Istana Nurul Iman maintains air-conditioned stables for 200 polo ponies, a detail that exposes how deeply money is used to override environment. In a tropical climate, cooling animals requires continuous energy, specialized infrastructure, and constant maintenance. From a practical standpoint, it is irrational. From a power standpoint, it is precise. The message is simple. Even nature operates on permission here. Climate, biology, and geography are variables to be controlled, not constraints to be respected. Running this palace is not a domestic operation, it is an enterprise. The staffing, security, utilities, and upkeep function at a scale comparable to a large corporation. Annual maintenance costs are estimated in the tens of millions of dollars, covering everything from preservation of interior materials to round-the-clock security and logistics. These costs are not excess. They are the price of permanence. When power is centralized so completely, any sign of decline becomes political. Maintenance is not about comfort, it is about continuity. What separates Istana Nurul Iman from other billionaire residences is its indifference to justification. Modern wealth often hides behind minimalism or privacy. Old royal power does neither. This palace does not attempt to explain itself through design or innovation. It exists as a constant, overwhelming presence. There is no narrative of efficiency, no attempt to appear modern or relatable. Instead, scale replaces explanation. The palace does not ask to be understood, it expects to be accepted. In this sense, Istana Nurul Iman is less a home than a physical doctrine. It demonstrates a form of wealth where legitimacy is reinforced daily through size, repetition, and maintenance. Here, money is not used to optimize life. It is used to freeze hierarchy in place. And as you move forward to the next residence, the contrast becomes sharper, because not all extreme wealth chooses to be this visible. Villa Leopolda, European old money and the price of nature. What kind of residence spends more money standing still than most businesses spend growing? On the cliffs of the French Riviera, Villa Leopolda exists as a quiet contradiction to modern billionaire logic. Valued at $750 million, this property does not dominate skylines, break engineering limits, or advertise innovation. Instead, it consumes money slowly, relentlessly, and invisibly, converting time itself into a luxury asset that only old money understands how to sustain. At first glance, the numbers appear impressive, but not outrageous by billionaire standards. The villa covers roughly 80,000 square feet, spread across 50 acres of land overlooking the Mediterranean. But the real scale is not architectural, it is operational. Villa Leopolda is not designed to overwhelm through size, it overwhelms through maintenance. The estate's value is locked into gardens, terraces, and historical landscaping that refuse to remain intact without constant human intervention. This is not decorative greenery. It is controlled nature, and control is expensive. Every single day, approximately 50 full-time gardeners work the property, not seasonally, not occasionally, daily. Their role is not improvement, but preservation. European old money does not chase transformation, it pays to prevent decay. The gardens at Villa Leopolda are arranged with geometric precision, historic pathways, and layered plant systems that require continuous trimming, replanting, irrigation, and protection from weather damage. Any lapse becomes visible immediately, and visibility, in old money circles, signals weakness. Beyond the gardens lie historic greenhouses, marble details, and materials that cannot simply be replaced when damaged. Restoration must follow tradition. That means specialist labor, imported materials, and techniques that cost more precisely because they are inefficient. Modern wealth optimizes cost, old wealth weaponizes it. Annual operating expenses are estimated in the multiple millions of dollars per year, not including major restoration projects. These costs produce nothing new. They simply hold the estate in the same state it occupied decades ago. That is the luxury. What makes Villa Leopolda truly defy logic is that it does not function as a home in the modern sense. It is rarely lived in continuously. Rooms sit unused, spaces exist for no daily purpose. And yet, the property demands uninterrupted attention. This is intentional. The estate is not designed around human presence. Humans are temporary, the land is permanent. Ownership here is less about enjoyment and more about stewardship, a concept almost extinct in contemporary billionaire culture. Unlike high-tech mansions or vertical cities, Villa Leopolda generates no spectacle. There are no helipads stacked in towers, no underground power plants, no architectural statements meant for headlines. Its power lies in silence. The ability to spend millions of dollars every year simply to keep something unchanged is a signal understood only by those fluent in generational wealth. It says the owner does not need acceleration, disruption, or attention. Time is already on their side. In this way, Villa Leopolda reveals a colder truth about luxury. At the highest levels, wealth is no longer about building. It is about resisting entropy. And as the next residence shows, not every billionaire is willing to pay that price. Odon Tower penthouse, the $330 million sky fortress. What does power look like when it has no land left to conquer, only air? In Odéon Tower, the most expensive residential tower in Monaco, authority is no longer spread across acres or hidden behind gates. It is compressed upward. At the very top sits a penthouse valued at $330 million, not because of marble, gold, or history, but because vertical space itself has become the rarest asset in a city designed to exclude. The penthouse spans approximately 38,000 square feet, suspended above one of the most tightly regulated and wealth-dense territories on Earth. Monaco does not sell land easily, it sells access. When horizontal expansion is impossible, wealth migrates upward, and height becomes hierarchy. This residence is not merely high, it is deliberately unreachable. Elevators are controlled. Entry points are limited, sightlines dominate the Mediterranean. From this altitude, the city below feels less like a community and more like a controlled environment. The most photographed feature is also the most revealing, a 360-degree infinity pool that wraps the edge of the penthouse, complete with a private water slide descending between levels. On the surface, it looks playful, even excessive, but building a pool at this height requires extreme structural reinforcement, vibration control, and continuous monitoring. Water weight becomes a threat, wind becomes a factor, engineering costs escalate rapidly. Maintaining that pool alone consumes hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in inspection, treatment, and safety protocols. This is not leisure, it is a technical flex disguised as fun. Then there is the detail that rarely makes headlines: parking. In Odon Tower, a single parking space is valued at approximately $330,000, not the car, the space. This reveals the real economic logic at work. Storage itself is monetized as a luxury because space, even underground, is scarce. For the ultra-wealthy, convenience is no longer about proximity. It is about certainty. Knowing that a place exists for you, reserved permanently, is worth 6 figures. Security and maintenance transform this penthouse into a machine rather than a home. Systems must operate silently and redundantly. Glass must withstand pressure and salt corrosion. Climate control must remain stable despite exposure on all sides. Any failure is amplified by height. Repairs are slow. Access is restricted. Costs compound. Annual upkeep runs into the millions of dollars, not to upgrade, but simply to preserve operational integrity. What makes this residence defy logic is not extravagance, but inefficiency by choice. Vertical living multiplies complexity. Every meter upward adds cost. But that is precisely why it works as a signal. At this level, wealth is no longer about how much you own, but how difficult it is for others to replicate your position. The Odéon penthouse does not isolate its owner from society. It places them above it, turning elevation itself into a social barrier. And as the next residence reveals, some billionaires reject height entirely, choosing disappearance over dominance. Elon Musk's $12 billion house that rejects billionaire logic. What if the most expensive billionaire house in the world wasn't built to be admired, photographed, or even recognized as a house at all? When Elon Musk is linked to a residence valued at an estimated $12 billion, the number sounds absurd until you realize the money is not embedded in walls, land, or luxury finishes. It is embedded in control. This structure rejects every visible rule of billionaire real estate because it was never designed to signal wealth. It was designed to remove friction between power and action. There is no palace scale here. No manicured gardens stretching across acres, no visible army of staff. In fact, the physical footprint of the house itself is intentionally modest compared to traditional billionaire compounds. That restraint is not ideological, it is strategic. Musk understands that visibility creates dependency. Large estates require large logistics. Large logistics require people. People create exposure. His solution is inversion. Instead of expanding outward, the value is compressed inward, into layers most people never see. The true cost sits in security architecture. Multiple redundant security layers, hardened access points, and controlled perimeters are designed to function without constant human presence. Access is not just restricted, it is segmented. Physical entry, digital connectivity, and personal movement are treated as separate systems, each with its own fail-safes. The goal is not protection from intrusion alone, it is protection from interruption. When decisions move billions of dollars in market value, seconds matter more than square footage. Location is another invisible expense. This house is positioned to minimize transit friction between Musk's living space and his operational centers. Proximity to work is not convenience, it is leverage. By collapsing the distance between rest, thought, and execution, the house becomes a decision node rather than a retreat. This is why the valuation reaches $12 billion when infrastructure, security, opportunity cost, and integration are accounted for. The house does not store wealth, it accelerates it. Unlike other billionaire homes that function as private kingdoms, this one functions as a command environment. Automation replaces staff, minimalism replaces ceremony, silence replaces spectacle. Every design choice reduces dependency on external systems, from public infrastructure to social exposure. The absence of excess is not humility, it is dominance through efficiency. What makes this residence truly defy logic is that it cannot be replicated. Anyone with money can buy land. Few can engineer an environment that optimizes speed, control, and isolation at this level. This is not a home meant to be lived in traditionally. It is a tool built to sustain power in motion. As you reflect on this, ask yourself in the comments which version of wealth is more intimidating, the one that surrounds itself with spectacle or the one that quietly removes itself from view entirely. Across this journey, 3 patterns become impossible to ignore. First, the ultra-wealthy don't use money to buy comfort, they use it to eliminate dependence. Whether through self-sufficient estates, vertical fortresses, or hidden infrastructure, wealth is converted into insulation from markets, governments, and public systems. Second, real power is maintained through control of access, not visibility. The most valuable homes are not the most photographed, but the ones that dictate who can enter, who can see, and who can interrupt. Third, long-term influence is engineered through structure, not lifestyle. Asian billionaire families in particular treat property as a multi-generational asset designed to preserve authority, security, and legacy long after the owner is gone. If this analysis gave you a deeper perspective on how extreme wealth actually operates, support this kind of long-form investigation by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. In part 2, we'll examine how another group of ultra-rich elites quietly build invisible assets that matter far more than real estate, assets designed not to impress, but to endure.